Do you get nervous during your interviews? Are you stumbling over certain questions, wishing you had just answered them a little bit differently? Is there a part of the interview process that is tripping you up and you're just not getting that offer so you can start doing that job you love? Well, you're in the right place. My name is John Nerrell, and I want to welcome you to a special interview preparation series here on the Mid-Career GPS podcast. I help mid-career professionals who are feeling stuck, undervalued, and underutilized show up to find a job they love or love the job they have using my proven 4-step formula. It's time to start building your mid-career GPS, so let's get started. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to episode 3 of this very special week-long arc on helping you prepare for your interview. Hopefully, you have had a chance to listen to the 2 previous episodes this week, as well as all of the episodes from this month. Today, we're going to talk about the one word you absolutely have to say in your interview. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you once again, I've got a brand new guide. It is called 26 Sentence Starters to help you answer any interview question. You can find it on my website at johnnerrell.com or check the show notes. But I wrote this guide to help you with your preparation, formulate your thoughts, calm your nerves, help you speak more competently and confidently about who you are and what you do. And my heart is warmed by all the great feedback from this guide. So go ahead and visit johnnerrell.com or check the show notes to get your copy of the guide. It's just a small price for it, but certainly appreciate that. And let's go ahead and get into today's topic about this one word that you absolutely have to say during your interview. Now, as a point of reference, I want you to go back, if you haven't already, to listen to episode 110. It's the episode on being more confident, and it's interview and career tips with the author of the Now Hello, Tracy Hooper. Loved my conversation with Tracy. And we shared this common appreciation for language and words to use. She has a whole chapter in her book called Words to Use, Words to Lose. I want to focus on a word that I believe you should be using in your interview. And that is this word, help. You listen to the beginning of this podcast or any of my podcast episodes, I share with you my value, which is I help mid-career professionals who are feeling stuck, undervalued, and underutilized show up to find a job they love or love the job they have. The reason I say I help is in part, it's part of who I am. I am a helper by nature. And for all the people that I work with who are heart-centered leaders and professionals, this is something that just appeals to their professional ear and their professional language. They get it. They want to be able to help. Now, completely for another point in time in podcast episode, there is a whole thing about work-life balance. And a lot of times we as heart-centered professionals can help too much. And what that does is just ends up burning us out. But the reason why I strongly believe, and I know that when you use the word help in your interview, it triggers the brain differently, both for you in how you show up, but also for the interviewer and or the hiring manager with whom you're speaking with. When you say, I help, and I talked about this in the last episode about how to answer the tell me about yourself question and who do you help and what do you help them do specifically. When you talk about who you help, they're going to be interested. They're going to want to know. And when you've done your research, as I talked about in the first episode this week, which was how you prepare and you take that job posting and you dig through it and you look at the verbs and you figure out what their problems or their challenges are and where your expertise is going to help and be needed, When you turn all that around and communicate that so clearly and cleanly, you now have generated interest. One of the mistakes people will make when they go into an interview is they'll talk so much about themselves they forget about the company. You don't want to be perceived as a braggart or being so full of yourself. You want to create this partnership as you're building rapport. We talked about this last episode. Here's how you do that. You have your answer to the tell me about yourself question. Here's who I help. But then you're going to say things like, here's how I can help you with that. In the past, I've helped, and you go with your answer. You want the idea of you as a helper being top of mind for how you're communicating your story, but you also want it to be top of mind for those who are hearing it. I'm going to share with you a story about a client I worked with earlier this year who was interviewing for an internal promotion. He had gotten to the third and final round. It was between him and two others. And as I was coaching him on preparing for his interview, he asked me this question, which was, how do I sum up everything that we've talked about? Because they told me that there would be time for me to go back and clarify anything in the interview and such. And I said, well, how would you feel if we just leaned in a little bit stronger with how you were going to help them? And I explained that this was a chance for you to go a little bit deeper, a little bit stronger in terms of your value add by bringing you into the position. So you're going to say things like, here's how I can help you. In the past, here's how I've helped. If you offer me the job, here's how I'm going to help you. And there was a little bit of resistance because this was something where I don't think he was really sure or like fully bought in that that was the way he wanted to show up at the interview. But he said, okay, let me sit with that and play with that. He calls me up like a week later or so. He says, I got to tell you, that thing you told me about doing, I didn't want to do. He said, but I decided I was going to go ahead and do it. And sure enough, in the interview, they asked him, what else do you want to share? And he said, I made it a point to say help 3 times. What I came to find out was that the 3 people that were on the panel unanimously chose him for the job. He shared that with me. And he said the primary reason why they were unanimous was that he talked in the collective, how he was going to help them, how we were going to be working together. But he focused in on what he was going to be bringing to the position and why that was important to them. So it is about how you are going to help. Keep in mind, you have skills, talents, expertise, background. Just formulate all of that in a way to phrase it in terms of how you're going to help them. Now, I'm keeping these episodes short this week, but I am going to throw in one other point for consideration for you. Keep in mind that when you are using the word help, there is a difference between how you think you can help them and how you know you can help them. And that is all about the energy that you're bringing into that conversation. If it is an opinion type question, that is when we would use the word think. If it's an experiential question, if it is something you have done, I know. You wouldn't want to say something related to your experience, something like, well, I think I could help you with this project by doing this, as opposed to, When it comes to leading this new project, I know I can help you in these areas because in my previous role, these are the things that I've done. It is about tone and energy. It is that little bit of give and take, but you are always standing firm in your value. Now, in the context of this short episode, I'm just going to tell you help is my favorite word. It is part of my energetic makeup. It's why I do this podcast, even. I am here to help you. So if you are a helper, keep that in mind. If you tend not to use that word a whole lot, think about how you can incorporate that in. But there are other words that can be equally powerful or enhance that message about how you're going to help. And that's where my sentence starters guide is going to help you. That's why I created the guide. There is so much in there to help you formulate your answers. So go ahead and check out my website at johnnarroll.com or click on the show notes. When we get back together tomorrow, we are going to talk about one of the most frequently asked questions I get when I am helping people prepare for interviews. And that is, what are the kind of questions should you be asking at the end of the interview when it's your turn? So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. In the meantime, my friends, remember this. We build our mid-career GPSs 1 mile or 1 step at a time, and how we show up matters. Make it a great rest of your day.